Thanks, Aaron. And our last speaker before the Peering Coordination Forum is Eric Silverman. He's going to tell us about how they're creating a database of colocation information.
Okay, hi everybody. My name's Eric Silverman. I'm Vice President of Engineering at Inflect. And this is my first NANOG, so I want to thank everybody for welcoming me. It's been a really fun time getting to meet everybody. So before we jump in, just have a couple quick questions. Who here has bought network and colocation services? That's part of their job. Good, because this is NANOG. Does that make sense? And who feels like when they're making those decisions, they're doing it with the best data available? Okay, not as many hands. So who here maybe on their desktop has a folder with some old spreadsheets, some marketing PDFs, maybe some out of date on net lists, maybe even some emails unread from some salespeople that they're waiting to go through? Okay, a couple more hands. And then when you're making some of these decisions, who here is interacting with other employees at the company, maybe someone in finance, or someone who doesn't really have as much industry experience that you need to really kind of explain some of the intricacies of your decision making to? Okay, a lot more hands. And that's why we're working to talk about a centralized database that we've built tracking interconnection services. So first, I want to talk about what is Inflect. Inflect's a commercial platform, and it's a product that monetizes based on transactions. So it's a commercial product for buying and selling colocation and network services. But the actual bedrock of Inflect is a free online tool that aggregates colocation and network data. It's fully featured, no matter who you are. There's no paywalls, there's no subscriptions, there's no license fees. Like I said, everything monetizes based on transactions through the platform. We want to make sure everyone has access to really, really good data. And that's why I'm here to talk to you guys. So, like we were saying, when you have really good data, which seems like everyone really wants, when it's accurate and actionable, it's like having a really good member of your crew. But maybe when your data's out of date, when it's not functioning properly, or you can't really make good decisions and rely on it, it can kind of mess up your plans. So we know that data-driven decision-making is how we get really good stuff done. And that's based on everybody's independent research, institutional knowledge in the industry, and current data sources that are available to all of us. So PeeringDB, Internet Exchange reports, on-net lists, sometimes marketing materials. There's a lot of data out there. So let's talk about one. PeeringDB. PeeringDB is fantastic. It's free, it's community-based, it's service provider neutral, and it's currently the most accurate peering resource available. And like Aaron was saying, they're focusing on some third-party integrations, and we're one of them. But there are obviously places where PeeringDB and really just data in this space could be better. PeeringDB, for example, their peering information is great, but their facility and colocation information isn't as current. So there's no data standardization, which means facility names, addresses, services offered at those facilities are kind of mismatched. There's not as much data validation, and when you're submitting changes, there can be an opaque feedback loop where you don't really know. I know Aaron was talking about getting changes approved faster, but really understanding the paper trail of some of those decisions and obviously how conflicts were resolved. Additionally, when you're viewing PeeringDB, there isn't the most paper trail of knowing the source and how many different sets of data contributed to what you're looking at and taking as the truth. Again, it's a volunteer effort. There can be some cruft built up, and it leads people to second-guess data, and that's the last thing you want to do when you need to make confident decisions. Over time, it becomes more and more error-prone. But fortunately, inconsistent data is a solvable problem. It's not an easy problem, but it's a solvable problem, and it's been solved for a lot of different industries. All the data that we need exists, but it currently doesn't exist in one place. And so we're really putting in the hard work and taking data from a lot of different sources, normalizing it, and putting it into an engine that can ingest data, normalize it, and correlate it together from all the different formats, and the longer it runs, the better it gets. And that's why we're really excited to be able to push data back to PeeringDB and work directly with them to help send our facility and curated, validated information back to PeeringDB. So we're partnering with PeeringDB. We're leveraging PeeringDB just as one data source contributing to our colocation database. We're combining it with other data sources in the industry, including data sources coming directly from service providers. And so we're improving what's available. The idea is to help automate the data validation process. We're integrating multiple data sources and correlating them together, and then applying confidence scoring and cross-referencing them, including first-hand user validation in there. So we're looking at lots of different data sources, understanding what's consistent, what's confident, and what's based on actual information that people have in their infrastructure, and all this can bubble into an interactive platform that allows anyone using it to flag and correct data. For participation, something like this really only works with a lot of participation. We're working directly with service providers. We're working with lots of data sources out there in the industry, and of course the community, so that means everybody here. So this is just kind of a high level of how data flows through our platform. We're really interested in getting as much primary source data, as we call it, as possible, so that means data provided by people who own those assets. So we take primary source data, we combine it with things like Internet Exchange reports, PeeringDB, and we send it into the system learning part of our platform. This is where we normalize everything together and start correlating it. So if someone has a data set that talks about 1 Wilshire, if someone's talking about core site LA1, if someone's talking about 624 Grand, we really want to make sure everyone's talking about the same thing, and we can really start to grok great information from it. So we correlate everything together, and then based on where that data came from, we can rank these data sources. So once we present a transformed data set, we can present that in the UI. I want to call out the most important part of this diagram, which is community feedback. So you can flag anything on the platform for inaccuracies, and that gets sent all the way back into the system and treated just as much of another source going into the normalization and system learning engine. The idea being we rank this data source in this room very, very highly on the platform, and we want to make sure that everyone can really contribute to making an accurate data set. So how do we score data sources? Well, the idea is to really score them based on what they provide. So if we're looking at something like PeeringDB, obviously has fantastic peering information, we can improve that ranking score based on peering data. If we're getting robust colocation information, we can improve that score, something like capacity, something like features at a data center, or if data was recently updated and revised. So if we're hitting a provider's API, we know that it's current, we can rank that data very highly in the system, and weights can be manually and automatically tuned and adjusted over time. So now that we have these different data sources and ranks associated with them, we can start to really present the idea of confidence in the data that you're looking at. So we can track changes from data source to data source and revision to revision, and we can weight those data sources based on the quality, correctness, ownership, and consistency. And then we can really present a paper trail. So if you're looking at the idea, if you're looking at a record with some colocation or network information, we can actually tell you that there were 6 to 10 sources, and this is where they were correlated from, and really the history behind the data that you're seeing. And of course, that software can also learn and adjust over time. So what kind of data are we really trying to look at? The idea is to really start with foundational data about the industry, where assets are and who owns them. Really trying to understand down to the suite what's going on. So if you've ever had to buy a riser at 350 Cermak just to connect to a network that someone told you was already on net, we really want to make sure when you're doing an install it happens in the right place at the right time. We're also tracking additional products at these locations, something like 10 gig versus 1 gig network, transit versus transport, colocation versus bare metal versus any sort of public cloud option. We really want to provide a robust map of what's out there. So to bring on a data source onto the platform, we're publishing an API spec. We're collaborating directly with service providers and other data sources to adapt their data to get into the platform. We can also work with any sort of API integrations that you already have and a spreadsheet. You can upload a spreadsheet if you'd like. Like I said, we're comfortable with unstructured data. We're really not afraid to do the hard work. It's more important that we get as much data onto the platform and start correlating it together. So we really want to work with you to make that happen. And all of that bubbles into a data management portal where you can really control any changes or updates to your data, but also what's visible or not and who gets to see anything. So to integrate these data sources, we can work with custom integration layers to format this data. Like you saw in the diagram, the software ingests pre-normalized data, and then it's normalized, correlated, and validated with other sources. And the real fun part starts to happen as we integrate bigger and different data sources. The system can really recalibrate and grow as more data comes in. So for service providers to participate on the platform, it's free. Like I was saying, service providers upload and manage their data via API spec or a portal, and the goal is to have as much primary source data as possible. So service providers giving us information about assets that they own and sell. For users, of course, it's free to use as well. You can tag assets and installations you have to your account. You can track your network through the platform. And we really want to understand how people search for stuff here. If you're looking for one Wilshire, CoreSite LA1, 624 grand, we really want to make sure we're really making something that can adapt to how everyone thinks about the industry. All data on the platform can be flagged for inaccuracies. And like I was saying, we're working directly with PeeringDB to push our curated data back to their admin team for their own approval process. So to wrap up, we're stoked to be partnered with PeeringDB. We're really excited. And we know that data correctness is important. And we really think software can help solve this problem, hopefully make everybody's life a little bit easier. We really want to ingest as much data as possible via structured information or even unstructured. We want to work with you, one-on-one and get your data onto the platform. And yeah, we're working with service providers and the peering community. And the whole idea is to really just provide a free resource for everyone to do their job better. And with that, I'd like to open it for any questions.
This is Steve Leduc from Beyond Turbo Networks. Have you considered including fiber optic cables?
At some point, I'm sure we'd love to kind of get there. The idea, we're really just trying to get kind of POPs and understand that kind of layout for now, but we definitely have plans to expand there too.
Okay, good.
Job Snyder's NTT. And we all know the joke that you can ping a router, but you don't really know where the router is. And when I joined NTT, I thought, I'm going to add all the sites that NTT is present at to PeeringDB so we can signal to people that, hey, we're present here. And this is, of course, my own ignorance with regard to different character sets, but some of the data center facilities were presented to me as a blob of kanji characters, and I did not know what is the building name, what is the brand name of the data center, what is even the street name here, is this a street, and this was challenging. So I'm curious, how does Inflect deal with non-American structure addresses?
Sure. So we have a couple of different ways that we're doing it. We're leveraging a lot of third-party location-based services, some that specifically focus on international facilities and address validation. Our software really learns as it goes, so we do a lot of possible address generation as we come in and automatically check things. So before something actually goes to manual intervention, it gets an internal confidence score first. So we like to validate things that way. And then sometimes, we're making phone calls and doing independent research. So all of it.
Thank you.
Hi, Patrick from Markley. You mentioned in one of the earlier slides that you don't know the source of the data in PeeringDB, but we do. All of the data in PeeringDB is user input, and you can only input data about your own record. So when you say you're looking for primary data validation, this is primary source data validated data, whatever.
Sure, and if that wasn't clear, I meant specifically from the service provider side. So the idea is, yes, data in PeeringDB is user-generated. We want to be able to cross that with service provider data as well. That may have been unclear.
Okay.
Hi, Nick Harlan, Microsoft. Could you describe how the monetization of the data works again?
Sure, so let me be 100%. So the data isn't monetized. So Inflect monetizes through transactions through the platform, similar to the agent commission model today. So the idea is the data is free because we're not monetizing on it. Great, thanks. Okay, thanks everybody.